Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 5:06 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. You know, it was back in 2020 as the riots were wrecking cities all across our country, including Washington, D.C., that the mayor of the nation's capital, Muriel Bowser, okayed the painting of a gigantic, ugly mural on the ground right in front of the White House designed to be an endorsement of the riots and a middle finger to President Trump at the time, and call the area Black Lives Matter Plaza. So D.C. residents and visitors and workers, they lost access to that portion of 16th Street right in front of the White House. It got shut down entirely and now has a perpetual, gigantic, ugly mural on it, a symbol of destruction, not of unity. And in fact, by the fall of 2021, the district spent an additional $5 million to make it permanent. That's how little they think of you. And so is it possible that we could get the city back as we try and get America back to greatness? Perhaps we could get the city back to some of its greatness. Joining me now to discuss that is Congressman Andrew Clyde. He represents Georgia's 9th Congressional District. He's a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the Freedom Caucus, and this is an issue that he very much cares about, as he should. Congressman Clyde, good to talk to you today, sir.
Well, good afternoon, Vince. Great to be with you. Thank you.
So let's start there. Right in front of the White House is a gigantic political display designed to endorse some of the destruction of the city and definitely to try and be a middle finger to President Trump. Can we do something about that?
Well, that's actually a very good way to describe it, okay? President Trump said that he planned on cleaning up the city if he got reelected, and he got reelected in a major landslide, and so we're going to help him do exactly that. Yes, when you see that mural, that plaza, Black Lives Matter, really that means defund the police. I mean, that's what it is. That's what the city of Washington, D.C. was all about. That's why we led a Congressional Review Act in January of 23 to take down the City Council's revised Criminal Code Act, which really eliminated all mandatory minimum sentences for violent crime. I mean, you're just asking for the city to go into, a massive crime spree even greater than it is right now. Mm-hmm. So this is something that has to be dealt with, and we plan on dealing with it, helping the president deal with it through the appropriations process. It is an eyesore to have this Black Lives Matter plaza within the city. You know, this city is for all Americans, and that is not a message of unity for America.
Yes, and it's also a lie. They wrote Black Lives Matter on the ground, and black lives ended up being destroyed in higher quantities after that mural was painted.
Yeah, you got a great point there. I mean, so we're going to have to figure out a way to make sure that Muriel Bowser doesn't spend another $5 million on that plaza to maintain it, because it needs to be absolutely removed, and the citizens need their street back.
Yeah, they definitely do. What about the rest of the city? Obviously, right now the local government tries to run things, but as you may have noticed, hasn't been doing a great job of that. Should Congress reassert control over the nation's capital?
Oh, absolutely, they should. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 says that Congress has exclusive legislative authority over the federal city. I mean, that means that Congress is in charge. This city is not just for the people who live here. This city was designed by our founding fathers for all of America, which is why they put Congress in charge legislatively of everything that goes on within the city of Washington, D.C. It is a federal city. Tax dollars from everywhere, from the entire country, fund this city. So we have an issue with how they run it, and so we're going to fix that as well. And when Congress passed the Home Rule Act in 1973 and gave more autonomy to the city, they reserved the right, Congress did, to strike down any law that the city passed. But they did it in kind of a backwards way, and we're going to fix that. Basically, when the city passed a law, then Congress had the right to reverse that and to void that law. Well, I think the way it should have been done is the city has the right to pass the law, but then Congress has to approve that law. So not Congress disapproving what the city approves, but Congress approving what the city does in order for it to become law. So I think that's the way that it should be done. And we're working on a piece of legislation to improve the Home Rule Act of 1973 and basically bring it back to the basis of the Constitution, what our founding fathers had envisioned.
So in other words, if D.C. passes a law and Congress doesn't do anything, and the time lapses, it becomes law. And what you're saying is you want to change that structure so that when D.C. passes a law, that Congress has to proactively approve it, and that's the only way that it can actually become law in the nation's capital. Is that right?
That's correct. That's exactly correct.
Okay.
So what you're not doing is you're not handcuffing Congress to a certain time frame where they have only this amount of time to disapprove something.
Yes.
Because Congress has a lot of important things to do, and dealing with an out of control city. Yes, it's important that we deal with that, but we have to deal with the entire nation.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we believe the law is right, then we'll make time to approve it.
All right, so Congressman Clyde, here's one wrinkle potentially in your plan, and I'm fully supportive of it. I hope it works. I've noticed that members of Congress broadly they like to avoid problems because they don't want to be blamed for them. In other words, there's going to be a lot of members of Congress who don't want to take an active role in helping fix D.C. They don't want to vote on whether various pieces of legislation in D.C. become law because the last thing they want to do is actually solve real problems. Especially problems that are complex and sometimes difficult to actually get a resolution to. Do you anticipate that being an issue as you pursue this?
Well, that's not why I came to Congress. I came to Congress to fix issues.
Yes.
I came to Congress to do the hard work, make the hard decisions, and rescue our country from the woke agenda that is being forced upon us. And there might be others that don't want to take that path and don't want to take those hard votes, but we're getting paid to do that. That's why we are here. That's why we are representatives of the people. And therefore, that is necessary for us to do. If we are going to truly protect our nation and give our the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren that come after us the same liberty or more liberty that we've had, that we currently have, that our fathers gave us.
So you're not calling for getting rid of D.C. Home Rule. You're calling for reforming it to make it so that Congress has to play a role in every law. That
is correct.
Okay.
I want, they have an argument where they say, hey, we want to vote on legislation that deals with us, that covers us. And I get that, and I understand that, but the Constitution is very clear. If they don't want to live in D.C., they don't have to. That's their prerogative. But the Constitution is clear that Congress has exclusive legislative authority over the city of Washington, D.C. It's federal tax dollars, and it's federal representatives.
Do you, Congressman Clyde, anticipate support from your caucus for your efforts? Will Speaker Johnson support you in this?
I think there's broad support in our conference for this kind of reform. I truly do. And I know President Trump, as he has said, he wants to clean up the city, and this is I think part of what needs to be done. I mean, the city of Washington, D.C. has had problem after problem after problem over the last, 40 years or so, 40 plus years that they have had home rule, 50 years actually. So it's just been difficult for them. And I think it's very important that Congress stay engaged to ensure that the city is safe for not just the people who live here, but for all the constituents that come in from our districts that want to see the city of Washington, D.C., that want to see their capital and come visit their representative at the seat of government.
And what about President Trump? Obviously, you point out that he wants to clean up the city. Do you get the sense that he would be supportive of your effort?
Oh, I think he probably would. I haven't spoken to him directly, so I can't speak for him.
Yeah.
But I think he would. I think there's many, many ways we can clean up this city, and I think we're going to try all of them.
I love that. And then finally, as I started, the Black Lives Matter Plaza thing, if even if you don't get a major reform to D.C. home rule, and let's not, I don't want to downplay it at all, but I hope you can do that. But even if you don't get that, I do feel like you could accrue enough energy to get 16th Street back open. Do you think other members of Congress will jump all over that with you?
I'm an eternal optimist. I believe that's something that we can do and get 16th Street back open. because it's an eyesore to this community. It's an eyesore for America, and it needs to go away. And we need to stop spending money on maintaining it. We need to take it down. We need to pave over it. And, it needs to go into the ash heap of history.
Yeah. And if you don't like President Trump, go protest him in the city. You're allowed to do that. But U.S. taxpayer dollars should not be used to paint giant anti-Trump murals on the ground in front of the White House. I think that's an obvious point. I hope it is.
That's true. And Black Lives Matter, I mean, they have a very much a hard left, Marxist agenda. And that's not what we in America are about.
That's
not
exactly
what our Constitution is.
Yeah, it was a giant con job, and the mayor of D.C. played into it, and all that money was stolen and then used on mansions in places like Canada and not for actually helping black people at all. The whole thing is absolutely disgraceful. I am wishing you the best of luck in tackling it, Congressman Andrew Clyde. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Vince, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Always nice to chat. There he is, Congressman Andrew Clyde of Georgia, House Appropriations Committee, Freedom Caucus, looking to not repeal D.C. home rule, but instead to reform it such that Congress has to proactively approve every single law that the D.C. City Council fancies imposing on the nation's capital. Things like, like they banned right turn on red, and then they said they don't actually have the budget to enforce it or whatever. It's like so crazy. Enough with the nonsense. Who in the world is opposed to right turn on red? What kind of tyrant is opposed to right turn on red? Right turn on red is one of the subtle joys of life. You stop at a red light, and it doesn't really mean in the end that you have to stay there. You can move if you're taking a right turn. Just look, make sure it's clear, don't hit any pedestrians, and take that right turn, baby. This is America, after all, the nation's capital, looking to ban even that small joy. Enough. It's absolutely enough. That's right. Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has no idea what a woman is, knows she loves Broadway and knows that she needs to be in a Broadway show. Who else could do this? Ketanji Brown Jackson could. She could just instantly be in a Broadway show in no time. Playbill reports Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson made her Broadway debut. These are so unserious, are they? These people. An especially created one-night-only walk-on role in the hit jukebox musical And Juliet, December 14th at the Stephen Sondheim Theater. Jackson, who became the first black female Supreme Court justice when she took her seat on the highest court on June 30th of 2022, rehearsed for her Broadway bow and subsequently took the Sondheim stage. In the Instagram post below, I'm going to share some of this with you, about her Broadway appearance, Jackson says, I think that it means that anything is possible. Yeah, if you're like a saint on the left, you're allowed to do literally anything you want. What's next? Will she be in the next WNBA game? Let's replace Caitlin Clark with Ketanji Brown Jackson. Let's see how that goes. Here she is on Broadway. Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Female empowerment. Sick. I like it too. I think what I like about it is that I am having a very strongly negative reaction to it. Like I hate it. Which makes me think it must be brilliant. Got this feeling in my body.
By the way, it's like a huge promo video, so you have to be subjective.
Did it! I made it to Broadway.
I think that's her best work. I think that's the best thing she's ever done. You know what? I take it back. Forget the whole why does she think she's entitled to this? No. This is exactly where she should be. Put her on a Broadway stage. Let her do her queer-themed Romeo and Juliet renditions. She can, every single night, she can use that enthusiasm, go and do a big stage show. She barely needs to work for the applause. Did you hear it? They were applauding her like crazy. She barely delivered a line. People were over the moon. That's fantastic. And what do they pay for those tickets? I've never been to a Broadway show. I'm not ruling it out. I'll go at some point. That'd be cool to see a show like that. But this is very expensive. This is a very expensive prospect. You get to go and watch Ketanji Brown Jackson. And of course, the camera pans the crowd in the promo video, and the whole crowd was literally MSNBC guests. I'm telling you. I saw, or who's the woman on CBS? Gayle King was sitting in the crowd. It's just the most obvious thing ever. They cut. So, of course, it's a bunch of enthusiastic left-wingers who have unbelievable amounts of money, all cheering on Ketanji Brown Jackson. I just want her to start with the basics, like biology. What is a woman? Can you answer that question? No, she couldn't, and she made it through Senate confirmation. If she can make it through Senate confirmation and then end up with a Broadway show, then Pete Hegseth should be able to make it through Senate confirmation, don't you think? Tulsi Gabbard, maybe, RFK Jr., Kash Patel, all these guys. If Ketanji Brown Jackson can make it through, and her life's passion is not figuring out the birds and the bees, but instead performing on Broadway, I think we know the standards of the United States Senate. Don't you think? I love the hemming and hawing. I'm not sure Pete Hegseth is going to make it through. Ketanji did. How about Pete? What about him? Coming up on the program, President Trump does a big press conference today, and he makes a big announcement about literally hundreds of billions of dollars that are about to flow into this country, and he's not even president yet. What's Joe Biden doing? I think he coughed into a microphone a lot today. I've got that, too. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 5:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Let's see, we have a call coming in from David right now in Rehoboth on line 2. Hello, David. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Thank you for taking my call. First time calling into your show. You're doing an outstanding job. I really appreciate your upbeat tempo and your spirit. Black Lives Matter, 16th Street,
Yeah.
4th of July celebration. Trump was president. They did the military flyover. I think that was 2019.
Okay. Yeah, I forget the year, but I remember it. It was pretty cool.
Yes, it was. It was very cool. So my two sons and I loaded up our bicycles, and we rode all over the mall to see the 4th of July celebration and the air show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, hey, come on, let's go over here and check out Black Lives Matter Street. So we rode over there, and I was just appalled at what I saw. It was absolutely disgusting. They had a large American flag. I'm talking large, like 10-foot by 7-foot flag laid down onto the street, and they were playing bongos. Adults were playing bongos, chanting something, I don't know. And the ladies were encouraging their kids, and these children were 7, 10, no more than 10 years old. There was 5 or 6 kids, boys and girls, that walked out onto the flag, the American flag, and were dancing on top of the flag. And I'm a veteran. I did 24 years in the U.S. Navy. And it was just, I was torn. Do I dismount off my bicycle and rescue the flag?
Yeah.
It was just horrible.
It's the behavior. It's the behavior of an enemy country. These are like the videos you see from the Middle East. They'll be dancing on top of American flags, lighting them on fire, and we're seeing them. You saw them right here on our own streets.
Yes, and I thought about the people that visit the United States of America and Americans that visit their capital for the first time. Just a short walk from the White House, they go and see that.
You're looking at the White House. You're staring at the White House. You turn around 180 degrees, and right behind you, you see people stomping on the American flag. That's the image that people who come from all around the world, they come to Washington, D.C., and there's a couple critical spots you're going to stop in Washington, D.C. if you'd like to see the sights. And one of them is right there in Lafayette Square. You're standing there right in front of the White House looking at this, and you turn around, you're staring at 16th Street. It's been shut down for a destructive political exercise, which at its core involves sort of this Marxist anti-American sentiment that you saw on display when you went by with your kids.
Yes, and and parents are raising their children to hate their home. And another thing that was notable was all the businesses on both sides of the street, from as far as I could see to the north and towards the White House, were boarded up. All those business owners were not making money, but yet they got to pay rent. And I was just thinking, this has just got to stop.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I really appreciate you taking this on tonight.
Oh my gosh, you won't even believe the number of people who have been bugging me behind the scenes. We've done a whole bunch of segments on this subject on the air, and Congressman Andrew Clyde, by the way, has been a standout among lawmakers on this subject. Thank goodness he's on it. But I keep tackling it as often as possible because I actually love the city. I want to see it get better.
too.
I love what 16th Street was. You know, I used to work right near there. I used to work right off of Farragut Square. We had a Daily Caller office there at the time. And I would love for my I wouldn't ever do it all the time, but I'd love my opportunities to like just walk through Lafayette Plaza, to go down 16th Street, to walk through Lafayette, to head over to like Old Ebbitt or something for lunch. It felt amazing. It actually felt amazing. It felt like I lived in the greatest country on earth. I was so privileged to be able to take that walk and to on a nice day especially, and to see what the left has done to this city breaks my heart. And it doesn't serve. The point I've been trying to make is, you know, obviously we're all over like the moral blackmail that a phrase like Black Lives Matter consists of, because when you say it, it's a sentiment that everybody agrees with, and you should. But that's not what I'm objecting to. I'm objecting to that is a movement that was built by con artists who robbed people blind, didn't actually help black people. More black deaths occurred in Washington, D.C., and the mayor spent $5 million of your hard-earned money in order to make it permanent rather than to say we need order in the city, we shouldn't be endorsing riots, we shouldn't be doing political gestures like this, we shouldn't be elevating middle fingers of this nature to the President of the United States. And instead, she became a handmaiden of the mob, and she gave them the ransom payment they demanded. And that is an atrocity. That should have never happened. And so this is why I'd like to see it turn around, and this is why I'll keep encouraging and browbeating when necessary the people who might be able to make that happen.
And then the mayor turned around. She painted Black Lives Matter equals defund the police, and then she's turned around in recent days and refunded the police to try to get the crime down. It's so hypocritical. It's just wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, and the military flyover was completely awesome, and I never seen a fireworks display. I encourage anybody on the 4th of July, go down to the National Mall and watch the fireworks display from Lincoln to the Washington Monument, and stand between those two. I've never seen a fireworks display like that. It was unbelievable.
It's magical, and it's really cool, it gives you a sincere appreciation for your country, the kind of appreciation that you also feel when you see someone keep a flag from touching the ground. In my house, my American flag doesn't touch the ground. The one I take down from in front of my home when necessary, if the winds get too strong, that thing is staying off of the floor. Because that's the same way with my kid. That's the same way with my whole family, because we have a sense that there's a reverence here. This is a great country,
that's right.
And it's worth being reverent towards. That's my view. Anyway, thank you,
That's
David.
Right, you keep the torch burning, Vince. You're doing a fine job.
David, you're a good man. Thank you for that. I appreciate the call. Let me see. I've got Daniel calling in from Silver Spring now. Daniel, good afternoon. You are on line 4 and now on the Vince Colonnese Show. Hello, sir.
Hey, I kuto what the gentleman said. He told it. He said, because I love your show. I listen to it all the time. But I had something else on my mind. But when he was talking about the Black Lives Matter on the street of Washington D.C. right in front of the White House, I'm gonna tell you something. Donald Trump was disrespected the whole time that he was the president by Washington D.C. And I didn't like it. I did not like that at all. And Donald Trump has hinted. I don't know, but I hope he does. Washington D.C. was not always run by home rule. At one time, there was a commission here appointed by the President of the United States to run this city. When the city, if the city was not doing or living up to his expectations. And Donald Trump, and the crime here is crazy now. You know, we have a lot of crime, people hijacking cars, and plus the disrespect.
Yeah.
The disrespect. And I didn't like that. So I'm hoping that he turns it around and bring it back to where it was until we can get some people who honors Washington, D.C. and respect Washington, D.C. for the great city that it is.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's my comment.
All right. Well, I appreciate that comment. It's a good one, Daniel. I'm with you, man. I'm rooting for D.C. I want things to get better here. Born and raised, Daniel. Yeah, you've seen it go through some tough times, and it did get a lot better during your lifetime. But it's been in the last couple of years, especially when the left went absolutely crazy that Donald Trump was in office, that things got a lot worse, didn't it?
Exactly. And that's why this man is being so they are disrespecting him like that, and he's the president of the United States.
Yeah. And they're using your money to do it, just to add insult to injury. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that call. Daniel, born and raised Washington, D.C., doesn't like the disrespect he sees directed at Trump. I think things are turning around. I hope so anyway. D.C.'s going to the establishment figures are going to keep disrespecting him. It's just, how do the rest of us respond? That's the key. President Trump did have a bunch of remarks to make today. So speaking of making money for us, you ready for this? So President Trump, in addition to doing a press conference today in Palm Beach, he not only just was taking questions, he brought a gentleman out with him whose name is Masayoshi Son. He's a Japanese businessman, very wealthy. Japanese CEO of SoftBank is the name of the investment firm. And the announcement today is that Masa, for short, Masa Son, has announced that he will be infusing $100 billion in new investments into the United States of America. $100 billion. Now, apparently he had done this before. When President Trump became president in 2017, Masa Son announced $50 billion in investments. He's now doubled it. He says President Trump is doubling down on America, so he's doubling down on his investment in our country. And listen to this. Not only is he making a $100 billion investment in the country, which they both say will result in at least 100,000 American jobs, but President Trump, right here at the press conference, pressures him to double it to $200 billion. Take a listen to this.
To go, and we were discussing, and President Trump said, Masa, double that is not enough. Maybe, go for more, right?
That's what I'm going to ask him right now. Would you make it $200 billion instead of that? He can actually, believe it or not, he can actually afford to do that. Would you do that? Well,
my promise is 100, but, he's now asking to do more. I think,
He said, my promise is 100, and now he's asking me to do more.
Your leadership, my partnership with you, with your support, I will try to make it happen.
That's good.
All right.
200. He'll make it happen.
He says, all right, 200. He'll make it happen, 200.
$100 billion investment.
He is a great negotiator.
He's a brilliant guy and did an unbelievable job, and the people of...
This is the most alpha crap imaginable. He's standing there. The guy has just made this massive offering. We were talking earlier about this massive settlement that McKinsey paid, $600-something million, and saying that's a lot of money to most people. $600 million. That amount of money is something I can't even fathom. $100 billion. This guy says, I'm going to invest $100 billion in America. Trump, with cameras pointed on him, reporters in front of them, the world watching, goes, I think you could do $200 billion. And the guy starts laughing. This is nervous laughter because he's trying to figure out, how do I navigate this? He doesn't have Trump's chops. How do I navigate standing in front of cameras, looking like an affable guy, looking like I'm not offended, enjoying this moment, And so his answer is, actually, okay, maybe I'll try. Maybe $200 billion. And Trump starts complimenting him. What a brilliant guy. Look at this guy. A brilliant guy. Everybody loves this guy. Japan loves this guy. I love this guy. Everybody loves him. He's an amazing person, and it's going to be great when he gives us now $200 billion. And so he's buttering him up. I mean, the whole thing is just sort of a master class in influence.
Japan and all over the world are very proud of him. They have tremendous respect for him. So when he does what he just did, and I would be surprised if it didn't go to 2. When you say you'll try, I know you'll do it.
I will really try. Yeah. And I need your support, though.
You'll have my support.
All right.
You'll have our country's support.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you, Masa. Very much.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That I love that. Now we'll see. Now if it's $101 billion and rather than 100, That's $1 billion improvement. That's a huge deal already. $101 billion. That's a big amount. That's a lot of jobs, you know? So we'll see what happens. But there's President Trump making a big announcement. His presidency's going great. He's not even president. Not even president yet. This is an historic investment. An historic investment, President Trump said today. President Trump was also expressing concern about the fact that Joe Biden's people have been selling off the parts of the border wall that have not yet been assembled. How disgusting of them. I was telling you about this Thursday when we last spoke, that the Biden administration has been auctioning off the remaining pieces of the border wall that have not yet been assembled in an effort to get ahead of President Trump returning to office. In other words, he won't have the pieces available to get the wall up, and he will have to spend a lot more money at today's inflated rates to acquire the materials to continue the project. So this is an effort to hurt Trump, and more importantly, to hurt you and our sovereignty. That's the only explanation for it. President Trump today expressed his concern, and he appealed to what's left of Joe Biden's brain to reverse it.
But now we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive, and now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall. I built much more than I said I was going to build, but then after it was built, I said, you know, we can do some more, because it's sort of like water, people flow through, and that will pretty much really take care of it. And what happened is they just, as you see, they're trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, and that's really, that has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation.
Yes.
And all it means really is that we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more, not even talking about the time. Time would be pretty long, but we'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on building the same wall that we already have.
In a moment, President Trump has a message directly to Joe Biden today on that very issue. Hold on. Biden's administration is selling off pieces of the border wall now to prevent Trump from building it. President Trump made a personal appeal to Joe Biden today.
The people that are buying it or trying to buy it are trying to make a deal with us to sell it back at hundreds of times more than we paid. And this is all because the Democrats. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall. We're going to use that to create a strong barrier, and it worked. That's why our numbers were so good.
He's asking Joe Biden today, please stop selling the wall. As always, so much news breaking. We'll keep covering it for you. The Madison, Wisconsin shooting that took place today. It sounds like CNN's reporting that it was a female teenager student at the school who opened fire, killing a teacher and a teenager in the school. Joe Biden instantly called, well, somebody at the White House under his name instantly called for a, quote, assault weapons ban. That's right. They want to banish hunting rifles as a result of a shooting that involved a handgun. These people are disgraceful, and they can't be out of power soon enough. Up next, the great one, Mark Levin, here on WMAL.